This is why you should be scared of smart people. This is Lee, and Lee hated his neighbor Umar, his wife, and their 4-month-old baby. You see, Umar and his family were living in their apartment directly above Lee, and Lee was allergic to noise. So every single sound that came from their apartment pissed him off. Their newborn baby crying, their vacuum cleaner running, even their footsteps were driving him insane. And Lee was studying to get his PhD in chemistry, and he needed his sleep, but the noise from Umar and his family wouldn't let him get some. One day, Lee decided to vent, so he took out his phone and texted Umar. By the way, could you please walk slower and not move furnitures after 11 p.m? The big sound always wakes us up. Umar took the complaint seriously and tried his best to reduce the noise. He even came down to Lee's apartment and had his wife upstairs use their vacuum cleaner, open and close cabinets, and even stomp on the floorboard, just to get a feel of the noise Lee was experiencing. And he really couldn't get what Lee was complaining about because the sound was negligible. Still, he tried his best to be more quiet upstairs. But that wasn't enough for Lee. He just kept complaining and sending text messages upon text messages. One day, Umar's baby got sick, and at first, he and his wife thought it was just a regular allergy that would clear up on its own, but it just kept getting worse and worse. Then Umar fell sick, and his wife too. Their eyes were stinging, they had terrible headaches, and just kept throwing up and throwing up. Umar didn't know what was happening, but there was this foul smell in their apartment, and he knew that their sickness had begun the very day it started to stink. So he decided to find out the source of the smell. At first, Umar thought it was Freon leaking from their air conditioner, so he called the technician, and the technician checked it out but didn't find any leak. Then Umar thought it must be the water heater, so he called the plumber, but the plumber also didn't find any leak. One day, Umar noticed that the smell was particularly strong around his front door, so he started looking around to see if he would find anything. And that's when he found this crack at one corner of the door and a small pool of fluid next to it. Umar immediately suspected Lee had something to do with it, but he just couldn't prove it. So he decided to set up a hidden security camera outside his front door. And the moment he checked the footage, he saw Lee injecting a chemical cocktail into the crack in the door. Lee had been intentionally poisoning Umar, his wife, and their kid, simply because he was upset about the noise from their apartment. Umar reported to the police, and Lee was arrested, expelled from the university, and deported back to China. So if your neighbors ever start to complain about something you do, maybe just move to another apartment in another neighborhood. You're welcome.